You're not woke, you're broke. I'm your host, certified financial therapist Jaelyn Vickery, guiding you towards becoming someone who finally trusts themselves with money. If you're ready to transform your financial identity through real money talk, money news, and money stories, turn up the volume and tune in. This is Finance, Fitness, and Finesse. Hey, Finessers! Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, JaeVic, and I'm so happy to have you guys joining Finance, Fitness, and Finesse today. We have a phenomenal guest, an OG to the show, and someone very dear to my heart, Nate Astle. Okay, Nate, thank you so much for joining the show today. How's your energy?
I'm actually really excited. It's always a good day when I get to talk to Jay.
I couldn't agree more, if I'm being honest. So, Finessers, to share a little bit of a background about Nate. Nate is the CEO and founder of the Financial Therapy Clinical Institute, where he specializes in couple financial conflict and financial trauma. His work has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and USA Today. If I'm being truly transparent, Nate Astle is the reason why I became a financial therapist. I remember, Nate, the first time I started Googling what is financial therapy back when I started my journey, working in banking, becoming a mental health therapist, and wanting to marry the professions of money and mental health. When I started looking up financial therapy, Nate, your name came up, and honestly, the rest is history. So I am just so excited to have you on the show today. We are going to be covering some very powerful topics today, finessers, around financial infidelity and money trauma in relationships. The way that I like to start the show is asking my guest, Nate, what is a money memory where your financial identity changed?
Ooh, good question. I think one that comes to the top of my mind was when I was, and this is a story I share quite a bit, but when I was about 11 or so, uh, I remember my dad got a four-wheeler for the family, which is a really cool, really exciting thing. But I remember driving around in our little cul-de-sac, and I remember looking up to see my dad being excited for me and being on this thing. And I saw him and my mom start to fight about it because my dad didn't talk to my mom before making this huge purchase. It's actually a kind of a core money memory for me where I remember kind of internalizing, like, is me enjoying this toy making them fight more? And it became a core memory for how I learned to view money, how I learned to view money as something that causes problems. I really, it was a starting point for my trajectory of my own money avoidance for years. I didn't like thinking about money, talking about money. My wife and I, when we first got married, she was, thankfully wanted to have a budget and make choices together, but I didn't like talking about money. And many times I've been able to root it back to that experience as something that led to this identity or experience around I'm a money avoider. Thankfully, I've done a lot of work around that, but it's definitely a kind of a key part of my growing up.
Thank you so much for sharing that memory, Nate. I mean, you hit on some very important concepts that we've addressed in the show before, which is how our childhood impacts our money scripts, our money narratives, or our perspectives that we carry into adulthood and that we also carry into our relationships. I'm curious, what how did the work that you did to understand your money narratives, right, the base of where your perspectives on money originate, how did seeking understanding support not only your individual life but also your relationship?
I think when we don't know where stuff is coming from, it's really hard to figure out what we're supposed to do about it. So I went to therapy. I also was learning about, money scripts and money beliefs and things in school. And that's when I think it started to become more personal. Like, oh, this isn't just kind of interesting to think about. This is our real lives. And doing my own work with my own therapist, doing my own work, and I was journaling and writing about money experiences. It changed the way not only that I viewed money, but how I viewed myself. I think money, and I say this quite frequently, the two biggest emotions I see around money in my work is fear and shame. And at least for me, shame has been a dominant narrative of a lot of my life experiences, and it shows up a lot with money. So, kind of doing my own work, what it really did is it helped me not just do different things with my money, not just have different conversations with my partner, but also change the way I view myself. I kind of view money work as self-discovery in a whole lot of ways.
Yes, money work is absolutely self discovery. And I'm a firm believer that self awareness is your superpower. And a lot of people are avoidant in regards to becoming aware and engaged with how money has impacted their past and how it impacts their present and future perception of self, especially as it correlates with their identity. I mean, guilt and shame is definitely something that I would love to address that we haven't really explored on a level that I believe, Nate, you're so excellent in regards to being able to educate. A little bit more background, Finesser community. So not only was Nate a professional that I sought out, noticing that he was a leader in the field of financial therapy, but Nate, you also blessed me with my first opportunity to work with clients. I also work with the Financial Therapy Clinical Institute. And Nate, you're also a phenomenal mentor of mine. So I would love for you to share how you educate others about the difference between guilt and shame and how that impacts our financial intimacy and relationships.
Yeah. So, as I said earlier, a major emotional response in money is shame. And I do think it's important that we distinguish between guilt and shame. So, guilt is what we feel when we act outside of our values. We have a hard day at work, we come home and we're snappy with our partner or our friend or roommate, whatever. And afterwards, we feel guilty because that's not how we want to show up in our relationships. Guilt is uncomfortable for sure, but it can be useful. I almost think of guilt like the rumble strips on the side of a highway, where as soon as you feel the little rumble, that's our kind of cue that I need to adjust my steering and adjust some behavior. Shame, on the other hand, is when we see our behavior that we don't like as a character flaw. It's not just that I did a bad thing, it's that I am a bad thing. It's not just that I've made money mistakes, but it's that I'm bad with money. Shame is not helpful. It's actually I say shame is the enemy of change. We can't shame ourselves into a better financial situation or better financial behavior because shame is an emotion that sucks away all of our motivation. Like, if I believe that the core fundamental problem is who I am, why why would I even attempt to try and do something different?
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really important that if we have, and all of us do make money mistakes, but when we make money mistakes or when we're in relationships and we make mistakes in our relationships, we challenge shame thoughts and we make action plans with our guilt feelings. If I'm feeling guilty, there's something I can do about it. I can apologize. I can work on changing the behavior, and I, I can learn. I'm not going to be able to learn from shame. All that's doing is beating me down. What I need to do is say, no, I'm I can do better, but this doesn't define me. And it's a massive
Yes.
difference in emotional experience.
Yes. Great points, Nate. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. When we come back from the commercial break, I look forward to discussing more about how guilt and shame correlate with money trauma across the lifespan. Finessers, how is society supposed to survive if the wealth gap keeps growing because financial support is built for people who already have money? A lot of financial services are charging $200, $300 an hour just to have a conversation. And for most people, that's just not realistic. I mean, 4 out of 10 Americans can't even afford a $400 emergency expense. Dimensional Wealth offers financial therapy and money coaching through a pay-per-minute model starting at just $1.50 per minute. You pay for the time you need, time and money, 2 of your most important assets back in your control. In just 8 sessions, our clients see lasting change, becoming more organized, more confident, and navigating their money decisions with more ease. So if you've been putting off getting financial support because of time or cost, now you have no excuse. Visit JaeVic.com to book your consultation, and listeners of the show get an exclusive discount on services using code DWF3. That's DWF3 at JaeVic.com. You're not woke, you're broke. Now back to the show. Welcome back to the show, Finessers. Prior to the commercial break, we broke down the difference between guilt and shame, and we're going to continue to explore how that impacts our money, our perception of self. We have a certified financial therapist and CEO of the Financial Therapy Clinical Institute, Nate Astle, here with us today. Through our work that we do as financial therapists, especially the work that I've been privileged to do with you at Footsie, Nate, there's so much diversity in the relationship dynamics that we get to work with, whether it's, people who have been married for decades to newlyweds or premarital counseling that we're able to do to support these couples that are realizing sometimes a little bit too late that money, how guilt and shame folds into that, it can cause us to have forms of dishonesty or forms of avoidance that we may not have anticipated that we would act out on in our marriage. And that doesn't mean it's always done with malicious intent, but sometimes when there is feelings of emotional safety being compromised, when there isn't adequate understanding or baseline skill level of communication in discussing money, it can result in things like financial infidelity. So Nate, I'm curious, how do financial infidelity and past money trauma shape relationship dynamics?
Yeah, financial infidelity is this really important area of our money lives that unfortunately we just don't talk about. The problem is financial infidelity is very common. So financial infidelity is any kind of secret keeping around money where transparency is the expectation. And you brought up an important point, which is it's not always an intentional, malicious thing, which is true. And it still has a lot of the same outcomes as other types of cheating. There's loss of trust, there's feelings of betrayal, there's wounds on the part of the person who is, receiving this information. There's shame and guilt to the person giving the information that there was some financial dishonesty. And a lot of couples don't realize that, one, just how common that is, and also what they can do about it. So I think a big part of how we kind of help heal some of the financial infidelity experiences is we get more explicit about our expectations. A lot of times we don't realize what it means to be financially faithful to our partner, because I have certain expectations of that, but that might be different than what my partner is expecting. And unless we're talking about it and communicating about it, we might disappoint each other in that area. And you brought up, money trauma. our past experiences, our past ways of growing up, what we've learned to view ourselves as because of our money situation, all of that contributes to how I want to show up in a relationship. And so that it's kind of one of those things where maybe if I grew up in poverty or I had a lot of really negative financial experiences, I might feel a lot of shame around money. Maybe I feel shame around being in debt. And I also really love my partner, and I'm scared that if I tell them what's going on, they might not stick around.
Mm.
And so I keep it a secret. And then something comes out months, years later, and now there's this big wound in the relationship. So it actually makes perfect sense how some of our past financial experiences impact how we show up in our relationships today.
Absolutely. And our attachment styles, especially with expectations as well. I remember, Nate, when we first talked about supporting clients in understanding their expectations around money. I mean, that not only transformed my daily interactions with money on a personal level, but also professionally. I mean, I have, two examples on an individual basis. There was a client who came into a lot of money from an inheritance, didn't grow up super wealthy, and they have access to money to support their needs, but there's a disconnect in regards to their identity and almost feelings of guilt or shame around, almost like survivor's guilt with having that inheritance. And so they were going out to purchase a service, and they had planned to, give a cash tip of some sort. Well, once they was at the point where they were checking out, instead of giving cash like they had planned, they had the option to just do like the 10%, 15, 20% tip. And the 20% tip was the closest to the amount of cash that they were planning, that their expectation was to give, but it was just 18 cents more. And they talked to me about it because they were like, I don't know why I had this unease, or I don't want to feel like a penny pincher, but I don't want to feel like I'm playing table tennis in my head over, a tip being, more than what I want it to give. And when I just explained it to that client that you had an expectation to give X amount, and the amount that was available to you to give in an automated way was just a little bit more. So in understanding that, hey, no matter what the amount is, whether it's 18 cents or $18, when our expectations aren't met, it causes us to, well, depending on where you're at and your understanding of yourself, you either have a moment of pause or you have a moment where you feel like you're in a rumination loop, right? Another example in regards to couples and navigating their expectations, especially around newlyweds. I mean, there was one couple I had the opportunity to work with that has since graduated, that they never talked about money going into their relationship. And then a year into their marriage, they are like, wait a second, we actually don't agree on a lot of things. And so when we come back from the commercial break here in a second, Nate, I'm looking forward to discussing more around ways that individuals and couples can become aligned financially, even if it's a period of time has passed where, just so that they don't feel like they're too late, So when we come back from the commercial break, we'll talk a little bit about money timeline and becoming more aligned financially. Finessers, the only way to learn about money is to talk about money. Money feels out of control for the majority of people right now. But if you're here listening to the F3 show, you're not trying to be the majority. You're trying to do something different. Dimensional Wealth provides financial therapy and money coaching. Our services are designed to help you get your money organized by understanding the emotional and behavioral patterns affecting your bank account. Stop procrastinating when it comes to your money. Overcome impulsive spending, money anxiety, and heal from money trauma. Take the first step to take care of yourself. Visit JaeVic.com to book your consultation, and listeners get an exclusive discount on services using code DWF3. That's DWF3 at JaeVic.com. Let's build wealth with wellness. Now back to the show. Welcome back to the show, Finessers. We have certified financial therapist Nate Astle here joining the show today, and we are going to continue our conversation around guilt and shame with our money, along with dynamics within our relationships, not only to ourselves, but also our loved ones. Nate, before we get into more ways that partners can become more aligned and on the same page financially, I'm curious if someone was listening right now and they either discovered that their partner was being financially dishonest, or if they have been withholding financial information from their partner, where is a good place for them to start in regards to making a change?
Yeah, I think it does start with a commitment to honesty. And that it might not be the most satisfying answer, but honesty is more than just I'm telling my partner everything that happened. That is part of it. But I would say it's also a commitment to honesty with yourself. Uh, Financial infidelity or just secret keeping in general, a lot of times it comes with our own avoidance. We end up making these decisions because we're avoiding something. A lot of times it's our own uncomfortable emotions that we're having. Maybe we're avoiding shame, or maybe we're avoiding fear. And as we avoid, we go to greater and greater lengths to get away from the things that we don't like dealing with. I think part of healing is an acceptance that I'm going to have to feel a lot of things. My partner's going to be feeling a lot of things, but feelings themselves aren't dangerous. They obviously are very powerful and important, but tolerating our feelings and understanding our feelings and meeting the needs beneath our feelings, it's a really important way that we heal and grow, and also prevent kind of future incidences of these kinds of issues. So a commitment to honesty with your partner, but also a commitment to honesty with yourself it's a massive undertaking, but it's also incredibly important and I would say crucial to our healing.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It is absolutely crucial to our healing. As you were sharing the importance of a commitment to honesty, it brought to mind for me a commitment to connection as well. Because, I not only experienced this in my own life at one point, but also in witnessing the evolution of the clients that I've been blessed to work with as a financial therapist. Is when they first come into financial therapy, it's obvious that they're not only feeling very disconnected from themselves, but also from the moments of joy and abundance with their partners, because when there isn't transparency or honesty, there's also that disconnect in regards to being aligned, and not only in regards to now, but also your vision for the future. A commitment to honesty produces the opportunity to dream, to be aligned in pursuit of your vision for financial stability, wealth, and connection to your partner. Nate, what kind of resources would you recommend for someone who is seeking to begin their journey of financial honesty with themselves and their loved ones?
Yeah, some tools or worksheets or things that I recommend people do is one of my favorites is called the money timeline. And it's what it sounds like. You do a timeline of your life, but focusing on money memories. When I was 6, what do I remember learning about money? What do I remember feeling about money? And the money timeline, I do have a worksheet on the Financial Therapy Clinical Institute website, but money timeline is a really great way to start exploring your own past and also what money beliefs have evolved from these experiences. Like, what do I believe about money because of what I've been through? I think this is a good exercise for all of us to do anyway, but I think it's especially helpful for partners to do this activity on their own and then share with each other what they learned. Talk about talking about my past with my partner can lead to more connection, more understanding. My partner can have more empathy for where I'm coming from. And it's just a really great activity for, I think, every couple should do, no matter how far into the relationship they are. The other really important activity that I recommend clients and couples do is called a values worksheet. And you can even just do a quick Google search of Brene Brown list of values, and you there's a big list of different values: family, friendship, fun, accountability, whatever it is, and you narrow it down to your top 5. Like, if I'm living according to these values, then I'm doing it right. You know, when you get to that point, you can then share with your partner, this is really what's most important to me in my life. Then a conversation comes up, hopefully, around how do we want this to look in our relationship or in our marriage? What does it mean for us to value family or value vacation or value fun or financial stability, whatever your values are? What does that look like in our marriage, in our finances? Really
Yes.
fruitful discussions happen when we do this kind of exploration.
Absolutely. And I've witnessed that. I was hoping you would bring up the money timeline. That is a resource that I use extensively with my clients throughout financial therapy and, in regards to distributing it to my friends and family as well. Nate, thank you so much for joining the show today, sharing your expertise, your insights, and your resources. In order to solve a problem, we have to understand it deeply. And financial therapy allows us to solve our financial problems by becoming reconnected with ourselves in our past, present, and future. Please make sure, Finessers, to subscribe, rate, and leave a review for Finance, Fitness, and Finesse. Don't forget to check out the Financial Therapy Clinical Institute. There are some phenomenal resources there, along with Nate is the host of the Money Minus Shame podcast, a huge resource I'd recommend. You're not woke, you're broke if you don't join in next week, and we will see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Finance, Fitness, and Finesse. If this episode shifted how you think or feel about money, pass it along to someone you care about. Got a real-life money story, question, or discovery? Send it our way at financefitnessfinesse@gmail.com or connect with us on social media. And remember, you're not woke, you're broke.